Same kind of thing goes with the spraying of the skies. You get all these ridiculous sites say, do you believe in aerial spraying? That's a belief system. Do you believe? No, I know there's aerial spraying because all the facts are out there. The media ain't going to go into them for you. They're too busy distracting you with other things. Things like show conferences like the Copenhagen Treaty. Nothing but a show. Everything was signed years beforehand. These show conferences are just to familiarize the public with the expectations of more to come. That's all, as they implement their plan. And they can't even tell you any kind of truth afterwards, except, well, we didn't really achieve anything, and bingo, everyone's putting carbon taxes on anything before supposedly anything's signed. It's all shows. These international meetings are really shows. That's what they're for. Because in governance, and that's what we're under, is governance. Governance, remember, is where a scientific rulership basically work on behalf of their masters, the guys with the money. And the scientific rulership or dictatorship decide through their superior intellect, this is what they're going to do, and there's no need to tell the rats in the laboratory. Why frighten them and be inhumane when you're going to inject them and cut them up tomorrow? I mean, that's basically it, you see. And what they can count on, too, is the general public are so domesticated that you see, unlike a wild animal that would notice anything different in its environment because it's on the alert for survival. We have been dumbed down, chemicalized down, and stupefied down with entertainment and farcical education, that we wait until the big boys themselves, the perpetrators, actually tell you what they're doing, which generally is 40 or 50 years after they've done it. That's complete domestication. It's interesting that if you go into the writings of people like Charles Galton Darwin, a real beauty of a guy. He was one of them, those guys. And Charles Galton Darwin, again, related to the Huxleys and related to Thomas as well, Huxley, and related to Darwin's themselves, with all the inherent qualities of massive depression and strange obsessions, put it that way, in various areas. But he wrote a book called The Next Million Years. And the next million years outlined the elite's plan for the world and how they'd run those guys down below. Them, the its. We're the its, you see. They're the thems, we're the its. Back with more after this break. Hi folks, I'm Alan Watt and we're cutting through the matrix. Just talking about the thems, that's those guys that work for government in all kinds of capacities and levels. And the its, which are us, you see, us are the its, you might say. But Charles Galton Darwin put out in his book The Next Million Years really what the agenda was. Massive depopulation. He was also the one who advocated the sterilization by various means, preferably covert means to sterilize the unwanted, the unfit, and all the rest of it. This is the 1950s, after World War II, by the way. And he spoke on behalf of the British elite and the establishment, the noble classes. But he said eventually we'll alter, basically the IQ level, will domesticate the species. And that's been done. The people have had their minds attacked. I think they've actually physically had their brains attacked, physically, through inoculations and so on. And he said himself, he says, but we, the elite, mustn't have these things done to us because we are steering the ship of Earth. We are guiding it, so we have to retain our wild capabilities. But the rest of us, you see, were dumbed down, basically chemically lobotomized, and we'll give them no trouble. That's the whole point. We give them no trouble. We just go along with whatever is done to us. Domestication. We don't see what happens around us. We can't think why things are happening. People don't even look up at the sky. I see wild animals going round here. If there's anything different on a fox's trail, believe you me, a branch going down even, he'll circle the thing quite a distance away to make sure that's all that's happened. That's all the change. He makes sure that's all it is before he'll move on. That's how they survive. That's how they're still around. But humans, See nothing. They really see nothing. And it's like Brzezinski said, shortly the public will be unable to think for themselves. They'll expect the media to do their reasoning for them. That has happened. He wrote that book Between Two Ages in the 1970s. That's happened to most folk. They wait for the media to tell. Well, the media is not there to tell you the truth. They've even been sued by journalists who've been hired, like Fox News was, because they were getting censored on a story because it was a big story on a big company and they got ads from it. And so these particular journalists sued them. There was since it had a contract, and the judge said, well, there's nothing that says, nowhere does it say that the media must tell the public the truth. And yet, of course, we're trained to believe it does. It's an appendage of your brain. That's what most folk think. They keep you 20, 30, 40, 50 years behind the times. That's what they do. And when something crops up that you should see, or a few people are noticing, in comes their propaganda. They're the first to put out the propaganda. Like the noctilucent clouds that suddenly started appearing, and they try to tell you how far back they went, and they were not new at all, and all this rubbish. It was all rubbish. Always putting the spin on things so that you can tell an idiot, and there's lots of idiots out there. Have you ever looked at the sky and wondered what all those lines are? And they'll tell you, must be a lot of aircraft, you know. There's about 2 aircraft going into Sudbury per day here. That's about it. Meanwhile, you've got about 15 in the air spraying back and forth. Well, I don't know. But they're gone. Most folk are gone, and you've got to accept that. Or you'll spend your life battering your head, trying to use your ego to dominate their ego until they admit you're right. That's a killer. Don't fall into that trap. Most folk will do that with their families. All you do is get kicked out, or they'll move off, or something like that. You can only use your time on people who are worthwhile to use it upon. Ones who are already asking questions. If they're asking questions, that means they're not quite so lobotomized as the rest. They have a bit of wildness there, of survivable capabilities. Now, I've gone on in quite depth for years actually, because when the spraying started here daily in Ontario, daily it started in 1998. I can remember the day it started. I couldn't believe it when I walked outside, and they were much lower at that time, doing heavy, long trails from horizon to horizon, and it literally was like a checkerboard, north, south, east, west. And it's been like that ever since. They're a bit higher now. They've got better stuff to mix together that form into this mushy eggshell color much quicker than the old types that they used. And they are adding to it with different things here and there. That's why your throat gets raspy or sore throats. That's why about 60% of the public get recurrent bronchitis now. They just don't know what causes it. That's why everyone's allergic to everything. They call it allergies. Well, no wonder you're being poisoned, folks. This article here sums up a lot of this. I'm going to read quite a lot of it tonight because it's well worth it, and it's got a lot in it. And it's not speculation. It's from government sources themselves. And it's from the Wise Up Journal. It's from the 13th of April, 2010. Howard Hughes Company, the company's climate change fight, it says. We're so familiar with nonsensical trivia that fills so many news mediums these days that the following information might appear the same, but it's quite the opposite. It will soon become apparent from authorized sources how important it is. To give the subject proper consideration, we need to look at a number of these sources, including an important government-funded report, an article published by the New York Times, written by Pulitzer Prize winner Seymour M. Hersh, reminding us of some old facts, and some other governmental sources. And I'll read some of this text when I come back. I mean, it really is on the ball. And I've got all this stuff already, and I've read this book, so I'll touch on some of the main parts of it and implications of it for you too. We're living in a fantasy, folks. Back after these messages. Hi, folks. This is Alan Watt, and we're cutting through the matrix. reading an article from Wise Up on the spraying and the governmental sources that you can go to see, yep, they're doing it all right, and how they've gone about it up till this present time, and where they want to go with it. It says the text below is taken directly from the United States government patent site. The restricted for government-only domain.gov can be seen in the site's address. It shows a technology with patent number, and it gives you the number by Hughes Aircraft Company, filed in 1990, with relating technology filed back in 1965. Keep in mind that the US government funded a large 1992 report titled, this is a very important report or book really, Policy Implications of Greenhouse Warming, Mitigation, Adaptation, and the Science Base. By the way, you can get it on PDF and on Scribd, I think, if you do a search. There's a few places you can get it for free.